In Myrtle Beach, you always go at your own pace. Lie out on the sand, lie out by the pool, go boogie boarding, go surfing, walk the boardwalk, walk the marsh walk, golf at one of 90 golf courses, mini golf at one of 50 mini golf courses, fish off a pier, fish from a chartered boat, go shopping, get drinks, eat the freshest seafood. The list is exhaustive, but the experience isn't. You can go all out or do nothing at all. How you relax is up to you. There is so much to do and explore, whether you're traveling with friends, family, or just yourself. With 60 miles of beach, you're going to find your place. If this sounds like what you need, then this is where you belong.
Realtree has always had a connection to the fishing industry and the outdoor lifestyle. In 2016, Realtree expanded on the traditional business of creating the world's most effective camouflage patterns to create a fishing brand and family of patterns designed to connect the woods to the water and strengthen the bond between the two worlds. We couldn't be more excited to be working with the industry's top brands, retailers, and anglers to continue our growth, and we hope that you will join us. Enjoy Realtree fishing patterns inshore, offshore, on the lake, or at the dock. Learn more about the extensive line Realtree fishing patterns, apparel, gear, and more at Realtree.com.
Hey, do y'all like fishing for prizes? Maybe a trip to Costa Rica or a once-in-a-lifetime African safari? Well, the Grand Strand Fishing Rodeo is back. Thanks to the hard work of Visit Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and Trilogy Outdoors Media, this once-popular event is back and is bigger and better than ever. This event is comprised of 12 monthly competitions that culminate in November with our annual banquet and expo, the celebration of fishing on the Grand Strand. New to this event is the freshwater division that will help include all of our anglers that live and visit the Grand Strand throughout the year. Monthly species winners will receive great prize packages from Bass Pro Shop and Surf Signs and Designs. But most importantly, they will receive an invite for them and a guest to our annual banquet and an entry in the grand prize drawing. So whether you fish the rivers, a pond, the pier, the surf, or a boat, you have a chance to win the grand prizes. To get signed up or for additional information, visit TrilogyOutdoorsMedia.com and click on event. Also, you can visit any of our weigh stations and registration stations to get signed up as well. Thanks to our wonderful sponsors, South Atlantic Bank, Surf Signs and Designs, Bass Pro Shops, Trilogy Outdoors Media, Visit Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and many more. Best of luck to everyone, and we'll see you at the scale.
Trilogy Outdoors.
All right, folks, welcome back to another episode of Trilogy Outdoors Podcast, and the Senator and I are together alone without any crazy guests this week. We're hanging out in the studio, and the Senator's got a lot of work to do, so we're going to bust right through the chase. I'm just kidding, man. What a great weekend. Thank you for coming to the fundraiser.
Yeah, it worked out real well.
Man, that was awesome. You know, we've been blessed. We've done a couple fundraisers over the last 6 months. Of course, the first one for Tony, who has been a guest on the podcast, but also is one of our hosts of the radio show, Southern Anglers Radio Show. And the crowd that came out for young Rebecca Stevens, who suffered a massive stroke back in November, and the crowd that came out and supported, and the businesses that supported, was incredible on Saturday. And you and the kids joined us, and we really appreciate it. It makes a big difference when you show up at things. And it was a great time. We raised... So we've got one thing out there still. We're trying. So this chef Richard, who we probably need to get on. This guy is so awesome. We probably need to get him on. He was Mel Gibson's personal chef. Tom Cruise, during 2 of the Mission Impossibles, he traveled with him and the family. Mel Gibson, he was with for 13 years. Leonardo DiCaprio. So his list is pretty good. But he donated a dinner for 6 at your house or a cooking class. He would basically, bring all the food, do some instruction, and teach you and everything. So I tossed in being the private bartender for the group as well to make the package a little bit better. And this same item sold at a big auction in Myrtle Beach last week for $1,300. Guess what we sold it for?
$5,000.
And we had to add one. So we had to add one. And then now we've had somebody come back since then and say, hey, I wasn't able to make it, but I heard about the dinner, and I will match the price that they paid if he'll do a third one. So I'm going to lunch with him on Thursday. We're going to talk about it and see if I can possibly get him to do it. But man, I mean, we are going to go over 25,000 if we actually do that thing. And
That's awesome.
Our goal was 10. Our goal was 10,000.
Yeah,
it was. I mean,
they are severely in need of it, and I'm glad that you were able to help them like that. You've been a leader in this community for many years in these fundraisers, and so I commend you.
Well, thank you. And I'll tell you what, it don't happen without an incredible group. And I put the pictures up on our Trilogy Outdoors page, on Facebook, social media, of the entire group. And I, at the end of the day, probably on Saturday morning, we had 18 to 20 people show up to help. And it was, I thought it was well run.
Oh, it looked like it.
I did. I thought it was well run. I even, as you pulled up, I was in the truck watching Kinsley compete in a big dance contest live in Charleston. So it worked out perfectly, and I got to walk up with you and of course, introduce you to some people that were there to meet you, our good friends from over at Southern Crown.
Yeah,
Beverage.
They're coming on.
Yeah, they are, and we're looking forward to that, man.
They're going to be one of our big sponsors.
Yep. We're looking forward to that because at the end of the day, folks, just so you know, this thing don't happen without incredible sponsors.
Yep.
And I'll tell you, we try to keep as much of commercials out of the content. Our commercials are before and after.
Yep.
We want to be, we want you to stay and listen, but we'll also start throwing in some things during the show and talking about some of our wonderful sponsors, which we've done in the past. But it doesn't happen without those guys, and we are so fortunate to have the opportunity to represent these guys and
honestly,
their products.
Like one of the most annoying things to me about a podcast is constantly being interrupted with commercials.
Yep.
And so we had this discussion early on. I would much rather focus on a couple of really large sponsors.
Yep.
That want to pay, they want to pay big amounts to be the only sponsors in the podcast, so you're not constantly being interrupted. Now, I'll tell you, it's harder to find those guys that are willing to pony up and to be the big guy sponsor. It's a lot easier to find 10 small ones than it is to find 3 big ones.
That's right.
But we've put in the work, and I think we've got some really good ones coming on this year. Obviously, Visit Myrtle Beach is going to stay with us.
Yeah, I don't think you can. Exactly.
And that's that's huge, and Southern Crown also huge for us, and so we're looking at a third one too coming on here shortly. And
yeah, we can't mention it though.
Can't mention it.
Don't want to put the jinx out there, but man, I tell you what, if you're from the South, you'll believe in a couple of their products.
Yeah. So we've got a lot of exciting stuff going on, and it's all because our listeners listen.
Yep.
Right? We've been tremendously supported by our listeners and our readers, and we thank y'all. We couldn't do it without you.
No, that's the truth, and I'm going to tell you. I was honored to have been asked to speak last week at the Blaine, our Methodist church here in the Inlet. The Blaine United Methodist Church men's group are going to get together every quarter and have kind of a wild game dinner. And had invited me for the first one to speak about keeping God in your everyday life and in your business. And I said, man, it's easy in my job. I mean, I pray every day that somebody's going to come on and buy products from our sponsors, and that we're going to get sponsors. I said, I keep God in everything I do. But
yeah,
no, and honestly, I'm just going to say, I talked with Lucas Williams, who's been on the podcast and our good friend, and we sponsor his fishing team. Prior to going over to speak to them, and because at that point I thought he was coming, he was actually going to be coming. But one thing that he and I do have a consistency in doing, and it doesn't matter whether we're going hunting or whether we're going fishing. Mm-hmm. We say a prayer. Mm-hmm. We say a prayer in the morning. We say a prayer before we leave. We say a prayer in the boat on the way. We say a prayer before we put the rod in the water. Mm-hmm. We may say a couple extra prayers if we're not catching anything. But we tend to bring prayer into whatever we do, and I think that it, without a doubt, makes a big difference. And if nothing else, praying for safety is another thing. I mean, you just look at all the current recent events of people on the water, and we're definitely not going to get into that topic. But
there's a great saying. I can't remember who said it or if it's anonymous, but I've remembered it for years. Religion is a man sitting in church thinking about fishing. Faith is a man fishing thinking about God.
Drew Street, I hope you were just listening to that, because as I started to speak the other night, Drew stopped. He could tell I was not struggling. It was not struggling. Here's the one thing. Am I used to talking about religion and my jobs? No, absolutely not.
Sure.
Ask me about a knot. Ask me about a rig. Ask me about a rod, a boat, whatever.
Yeah.
But I'm not. And I guess he could sense that I was struggling a little bit. He chimed in and said, I told Pastor Mike years ago that would you rather me be in the church pew thinking about fishing, or would you rather me be out on the boat thinking about God?
Yeah.
And absolutely spot on. You nailed it. And I had the discussion with Mike myself years ago that Kim and I would from time to time take Sundays off to go fishing recreationally, because in the charter business, that is a slow day because you got people coming into town on Saturdays. And,
Right.
and the one day Kim planted a number 8 hook in my finger while we were out there cutting church to go fishing. Could not get it out. Tried the jerk method. It didn't work.
No.
When that doesn't work, it's even more painful.
I've never had success with the jerk method, by the way.
So,
I know people do, but I've never. Anyway, that's an aside. Go ahead.
when you're talking about that size of hook, I just really didn't think it would work anyway. So Mike Perkins decided and volunteered himself to push that hook all the way through.
Yeah.
It was right here,
Yeah.
the base of my thumb, in my palm. And he pushed it all the way through and popped it through the skin. Now, I'm going to tell you, when he made it pop through that other end, that was the most painful thing I've ever been through.
Yeah,
and then he cut the barb and pulled it out and everything else. But Pastor Marty from the church said, irony, isn't it? Karma got you, doesn't it? Karma got you. And I said, yeah, well, but it was a great time with those guys, and I got to try pheasant. I have never tried pheasant at all.
Oh, it's super good.
Jay Sims prepared some pheasant that he had gotten at a tower hunt the weekend before.
Yeah.
And, man, it was good. I will say, I'll put it up. So we had duck, pheasant, and quail, and I'll say, hands down.
Oh, it's better than all of it. Oh, yeah. Pheasant is better than quail and duck, by far.
Yeah, so if we ever get invited to a tower hunt, and by the way, any listeners out there, if you'd like to invite us to come to a tower hunt, we'll be more than happy to come. But if anybody ever goes to one, doesn't want all their pheasant, just hit me up.
All right, so speaking of wild game, I don't know if you can smell it stewing in my home right now from the Trilogy podcast studio.
What are you cooking?
I have Stephen Goldfinch's famous elk chili, which will be going in our magazine in the upcoming edition.
Okay, good.
It is a English, I don't know. I mean, everybody thinks their chili's highly rated.
Oh, yeah.
My chili is highly, highly rated. And I'll give you a little primer on it right now. I do some special stuff that doesn't normally go in regular chili. Obviously, it's elk. I put elk burger in the chili.
Okay, you put the burger. That's what I figured.
So I start by browning an onion in a cast iron.
Okay.
And then I do a whole onion. And then I do 2 pounds of ground elk meat.
Okay.
I put that in the crock pot, drained.
Slow down. I'm writing. Slow down. Keep going.
I'm going to give you some. If you want to come by tonight and get a bowl, I'll give you some.
All right.
Okay. So brown the onion, brown the elk meat, drain it, put it in the crock pot. Then you brown about a half a pound of thick-cut Wright's Applewood smoked bacon.
Okay.
You don't want it crispy, though. Crispy messes it up. It just dissolves into nothing.
Right.
Okay, so you want to cook it, but you don't want it to be crispy. You put that into the crock pot on top of the brown onion and the brown ground elk meat. Then you put in 4 cans of pork and beans, just regular pork and beans.
Oh, boy.
Okay, 1 can of red kidney beans,
Okay.
what I call cowboy beans. Okay,
All right.
then you put in 1 cup of ketchup.
Okay. I figured that was going in there.
1 tablespoon of liquid smoke. Okay.
Okay.
3 tablespoons of white vinegar.
All right.
And Salt and pepper.
I should have eaten before I came. Keep going.
And here's the secret ingredient.
Don't give it.
I'm going to give it. 2 cans of Margaret Holmes butter beans. Okay?
So wait a minute. So we got butter beans. We got chili beans. We got kidney beans, right? You say kidneys?
Kidney beans, yep. Butter beans.
And butter beans.
You got to be very gentle in the stirring. So after you put all that stuff together.
Oh, yeah, and after it's cooked for a while, it's going to get moist.
You stir it very gently from top to bottom. You don't want to break those butter beans apart. You want it to just stew like it is.
Right.
And those butter beans sort of melt into that pot, and it is the best chili you have ever had.
There you go. Y'all got it right there. That's the Senator Goldfinch elk chili.
Margaret Holmes, also the maker of Peanut Patch.
Yep.
Good folks over there at McCall Farms.
Good folks over there.
Really good folks.
Yeah.
And that is the secret ingredient to my elk chili, and you'll see it in this month's edition of the Trilogy Outdoors magazine.
I love it. I love it, man. I'll tell you what. So, I had that big meeting this morning scheduled for Marshall's Marine, and something came up for the guys from Lake City that were going to be making it. So I am going to be driving tomorrow with Scotty from Marshall's, Scotty Hopkins, all the way over there. So I'm definitely going to come get a bowl of that because I can make that trip way more enjoyable. It sounds like with those beans.
I missed one ingredient.
What's that?
Quarter cup of brown sugar.
Oh, God, you just got me on that.
Yeah, I missed the brown sugar. That's the one thing I think I missed. I was going off of memory. I don't have the paper in front of me. But all of that together, that's the ticket.
All right, so I'm just going to say, so you say brown sugar.
Yep.
So do you do spaghetti? Do you do brown sugar or sugar, one of the two
I have.
in spaghetti?
I have, yeah. I have in the past. I think you can overdo brown sugar in spaghetti, though.
Yes.
It can be too sweet. Now, in this chili recipe, it's just right. You got a little bit of smoke. You got a little bit of sweetness. You got that butter beans. I love butter beans.
Me too. I'm the biggest butter bean fan you'll ever find.
You will love this chili. You'll love it.
It's funny. I got 5 cans of Margaret Holmes white limas and butter the bean mix in the old closet at the house right now.
Oh yeah.
Maybe we'll be talking more about Margaret Holmes later.
I hope so.
Later.
I hope so.
That was a subtle hint, wasn't it? God, we're good. You're getting good at this. Oh, by the way, you're in politics. What am I talking about? Mm-hmm. Hey, so I wanted to, we don't have a guest lined up until a little bit later. Scott Whitaker is going to be joining us here in the next 15, 20 minutes with CCA. We have our big CCA banquet, which will start off the entire year for South Carolina. Mm-hmm. They're starting it right here in Murrells Inlet with the Waccamaw chapter.
Yep.
Stephen and I have been to every single one of them, and it's been a blast. I think the last one may be the first time we had you on a remote radio show, and you had been missing in action for like 3 months. Remember, COVID had hit. Mm-hmm. You had to go with National Guard for some stuff, I think. Yep. You traveled away. Yep. Then you came back, and then everybody was kind of doing their stay-at-home thing.
Yep.
And you got out of the car, and Kenny goes, "Oh, my God, he ate a box of mussels." And we were dying laughing that day. But that banquet is a blast. We have always enjoyed hanging out with CCA. And Scott Whitaker's going to join us. We're going to talk about that and some changes to the Star Fishing Tournament. They added the Dolphin division this year.
That'll be fun.
And believe it or not, well, they did it last year. Mm-hmm. Lucas won the Dolphin division. He won... I don't want to say the dollar amount because I might be wrong, but he won, I think it was $5,000 worth of Shimano rods and reels.
Really?
For a 13-pound dolphin. So
it was tagged?
No. You just had to catch. No, the dolphin contest, and that's the other thing why we want to promote it. It's only for the biggest dolphin, but you have to be signed up for the Star tournament. So you're eligible to fish the redfish tag and your dolphin division.
So Star. So that's what I'm struggling with. Star is usually a tagged fish.
redfish. Yep.
Right. So we're not tagging dolphin and catching tagged dolphin. We're just catching biggest dolphin.
Biggest dolphin. Wait.
Well, that's simple. Yeah. I'm surprised 13-pound dolphin was the biggest dolphin.
We are too. And guess when he caught it? June 5th.
Yeah.
So we called it right after the tournament started.
Yeah.
But anyway, Scott's moving it back. It's going to start actually in April. So we'll have Scott on, let him explain all that and how that'll work this year going forward. Grand Strand Fishing Rodeo update. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it's like 86, 87 entries. And that's just incredible. My phone, if it's sunny out like this, my phone might beep 7 or 8 times in the afternoon from people weighing.
Yeah.
And we've had some big fish weighed in. We brought on some new partners in the last couple of weeks. Again, this tournament doesn't happen without sponsors because for a $20 entry fee, what do you expect?
Yeah.
So we have brought on a couple more great sponsors, and we're going to be adding to the prize packages at the end of the year. But also, a little bit of tweaks we've done is we're going to let some of these guys sponsor months. They're going to be adding to the monthly prizes each month. And then we're going to have an end-of-the-year species extra bonus prizes. And I don't want to say their name, but a business has now sponsored. They want to sponsor all the offshore, wahoo, tuna, and dolphin, which will be our 3 that we offer for offshore for the year. The biggest of each species for the year. Not only, in the month, that'll get the contestant in.
Yeah.
But if you catch them in the month that there are, and that's the other key, it has to be a month that they're a species there. If you weigh it in and you are the biggest wahoo, the biggest tuna, or the biggest dolphin, you will get a prize package worth over $500.
From this sponsor.
And I don't want to say their name just yet. We're working some things out, but I can say it. Paulie's Island Outdoors.
Oh, good.
I can say it.
Yeah.
Paulie's Island Outdoors. So it'll be a gift card.
Good.
We were going to do rod, some part of the puzzle. Gift cards are perfect.
So if you catch the biggest dolphin, or the biggest wahoo, or the biggest tuna.
That's right.
You get a $500. So he's giving $1,500.
$1,500.
That's super.
So that sponsorship level is awesome. I also had a Perry's Bait and Tackle officially signed up.
But you can win multiple categories there too, right?
Absolutely. That's a minor prize. That's not a major. So you can win multiple.
But you'll get multiple gift cards from Paulie's Island Outdoors if you win the dolphin, wahoo,
exactly,
and tuna.
Yep. If you're the offshore man and you win wahoo, tuna, and dolphin,
you get $1,500.
$1,500.
Yeah.
That'll be a good down payment to start you off on buying your first LP if you're looking to get into sword fishing.
Not even a down payment.
No, you're right. That'll buy the line.
It'll buy the line to go on it. Yeah,
that'll buy the line to go on it. But the rodeo. Honestly, I think in my email to Stuart over at Myrtle Beach Chamber, I said this snowball is getting ready to become an avalanche, and I think without a doubt, the next couple months we're going to see an incredible increase in interest. This article that was written last week and published this month in the magazine was just done perfectly by Greg Holzhauser and tying in a lot of the past stories. And your picture will be in the magazine this month.
Oh, good.
Of you and your flounder.
Yeah.
When you were 11 years old. Is that what you said?
I think I was.
I would have almost said 9, but I couldn't remember if you said 11 or 9.
I'll have to look at the back of the picture and see if it has a date. But I would guess I was 9 to 11, somewhere in that age range.
Well, we were showing it off Saturday, and a lot of people agreed. I mean, that's a true doorman.
So, yeah, as a kid, I fished it. I don't know if I could say every year, but I fished it a lot and participated a lot. And I've caught the biggest Spanish one year and the biggest flounder one year. And I still have my certificate somewhere and my little trophy that, they used to give.
Yep.
And I think the banquet was like at the Patricia Grand or somewhere like that, if I remember correctly. But, I still, as a kid, I still remember it very well. I caught the Spanish mackerel with my neighbor Jim McWhirter on his Albemarle, his 36 Albemarle, when I was about 12 years old, I guess. And I caught that flounder when I was maybe 9 or 10.
Name of the boat?
It was the Underdog.
Underdog.
Yeah. It was the original Underdog.
The original Underdog. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. So he had a 32 Albemarle that was like Underdog 1. And then he had the 36, which was Underdog 2 and 3. And then he went up and got the 41, which was Underdog 4, which was at the time, that was the bee's knees for me.
Mm-hmm.
I cut my teeth running bigger, what quote unquote bigger boats on that Albemarle, and then of course my neighbor got that 65 Hatteras, and that changed.
Yeah, that changed.
That changed everything.
That was that 65 Hatteras was a beast. So real quick, your neighborhood has spoken, and they want to hear more politics in the show. Just letting you know.
Yeah.
They were your neighborhood was represented wonderfully at the men's group the other night, and I'm not going to speak. I'm not going to do politics, but we are going to bring Whitaker here in about 15 minutes. But I do want to talk to you about a couple of things. I've had a lot of people ask about your upcoming trip. I wouldn't call it a trip. Well, I didn't say vacation. I said trip. Your upcoming trip to Africa with the Army. And, I've tried to, I guess, to give a layman's explanation with exactly what you're doing over there. But real quick, can you explain to the audience, like, what your job is going to be with the Special Forces? I know you've been doing some weekend training, obviously your normal routine with reserve. But what is your position in the whole puzzle? And you've talked to me about Djibouti and the importance of the port down there, I think, is where
super important port.
The concern comes.
Yeah. So let me give my disclaimer. My disclaimer is operational security is super important.
Right.
And so, I'm going to pick my way through this conversation as carefully as I can. It is a well-known fact in the community. I think there's even been press releases that the 218th is going to Djibouti, so that's not a secret. So I can say that with certainty without getting in trouble. I can tell you that I am a JAG officer, which means I'm a lawyer within the Army, and lawyers in the Army aren't exactly what you think they are. Sometimes they are. Lawyers in the Army do stuff like military justice and fiscal law, and what you would consider, regular desk lawyering jobs. There's also stuff like national security law, which is advising on rules of engagement and advising on whether or not it's appropriate, pursuant to the law, pursuant to laws of war, pursuant to the Hague, to actually fire missiles on certain targets.
Right.
So, and then it goes all the way, national security law stretches all the way into, actually suitcases of cash and negotiating with warlords and that sort of thing. My job in North Africa will be, from what I understand right now, it will be military justice side of things, and it will be, which is investigations all the way up to trials.
Right.
And it will be national security law. So
you don't have to go into that.
The details of that I can't.
Well, believe it or not, I hate to say this, but I'm just going to say from somebody who follows military a lot and has some interactions with Special Forces, we've probably said about as much as we need to say. And the only reason, other than just because, at the end of the day, these are mean people. They are mean people, and I don't care who they are. But I don't want to. How am I saying this?
Well, it's a bad part of the world. There's no doubt about it. So it's easy. You just look on the map and you see that Yemen is sort of to the northeast, only a few miles, not far. Sudan and Somalia are sort of to the south.
Right.
It is surrounded by, if you remember Mogadishu and all that.
Oh, yeah.
It's surrounded. Ethiopia is sort of to the south. It's surrounded by bad places. Somalia, Sudan, Ethiopia, Yemen are sort of the surrounding countries. So you can imagine. You got Boko Haram. You got the Houthi rebels in Yemen. You got all kinds of bad stuff going. You got Al Qaeda.
Al Qaeda is
Yeah. You got lots of bad guys running around the Horn of Africa in that part of the world, and really, the fight on terrorism has not ended. It's just moved south. That's the bottom line. I think the current administration would like to tell you that the war is over. But the war is not over. The war is not over. It's just it's moved south. And there's a separate piece to this too. We might have mentioned this on the podcast in the past. There's a separate piece to this too, and it dovetails right into what we've been seeing the last week or so with all these balloons being shot down. China is an ever-expanding threat to Western nations, especially the United States. And, I mean, it just seems to me like they continue. And let me make sure, I'm not speaking on behalf of the Department of Defense or the Army. There's my disclaimer again. This is just Stephen Goldfinch taking his Army hat off. But it seems to me like China is continually pushing its boundaries and testing our will. And we shot down the fourth object, balloon, whatever you want to call it, over Lake Huron last night. The fourth one.
Wow.
It's like, I mean, to me, there's only two options. Let's just say there's two options. The first option is these things have always been here, and it's just that the public has finally started recognizing it got leaked, whatever. This last one was so big you couldn't ignore it, whatever. The public finally sees it and starts demanding that these things don't fly over airspace. So that's option number one. Option number two, we've never had this problem the way that we're having it now, and they're ramping up their threatening nature, right? I don't ever remember. I mean, when I saw the balloon get shot down, whenever that was.
That was awesome.
A bunch of us saw it get shot down if you're in South Carolina.
Yep.
And I could see it with my naked eye, right?
Right.
From 60,000 feet up. I could see it with my naked eye. And trust me, if I would have seen something like that in the last 10 years in the sky, I would have remembered it.
Yep.
So I haven't seen one of these. I don't know anybody else that's seen one of these.
No.
So the only conclusion I can draw from that is that these things are ramping up in frequency all of a sudden, which tells me, I think China, you can only assume China's behind all of them. That tells me that China is testing our will. Why are they testing our will with this particular administration as compared to others? I think it's pretty clear. They think we may be weak at this particular time in history, and I think that's sad.
Yeah.
So anyway, that was a dovetail from North Africa to balloons over the United States. But I'll back up and connect the two. China also has a base that is right on the other side of the Horn of Africa. It's not. I mean, it can't be. I haven't done the math or measured it, but it doesn't look like it's more than about 20 miles from our base in the United States' base on the Horn of Africa, and they are rapidly expanding, growing their influence in Africa in all ways, from mining to military to just civilians. I mean, they're moving contractors in there at an alarming rate, oil and gas, everything you can think of. The Chinese are trying to dominate, especially in Africa. And so the United States, I think, feels and I think I can say this with certainty, feels it's an important place strategically for us to have a base and for us to park soldiers at for multiple reasons, not just for terrorism, but also to show China we're going to have a continued presence here in the Horn of Africa to make sure y'all don't get out of control.
Right, and it's not. I might be mistaken, but I do. We already have a base there. We've had a base there.
We've had a base in Djibouti for a while, but it was.
We have a listener to the podcast or to the radio show whose son is over there.
Yeah, and I mean we've had military going to Djibouti for a long time, but the significance of that base seems to have grown tremendously in the last 5 or 6 years.
Right.
There's been a big push to put more people there, to grow that base, and I think we're up to like 4,000 troops there now.
Wow. So I was spot on. I was basically explaining that you had a lot of involvement in rules of engagement, along with the wartime law or whatever, military laws. So I was spot on. I was doing a good representation. That's good. Now, how many JAG officers are over there? Like, I mean, will you be the only one, or is there do y'all have a team?
There will be only two of us.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there will be only two of us. There will be Chief of Military Justice, which will also likely handle national security in this case. That's me. And then there will be staff judge advocate, which will handle like base operations.
Right.
If that makes sense.
That
That's
makes
the
sense.
easiest way to explain it.
Yeah. And if you just want to know exactly what they do, just go watch what's the movie with Tom Cruise?
Better. What's the now, man? If you wouldn't
Killing
have, but Good Men.
You can't handle the truth.
Yes. What is it? Better Men, Good Men. Oh,
A Few Good Men.
Few Good Men. Thank you.
Yeah. A Few Good Men.
I was having a brain fart.
Could
not come up with it.
A Few Good Men.
It's a great movie. It's not quite accurate, I wouldn't say, in its description on.
So Kevin Bacon was the Army guy, right? He was the Army JAG officer. Then the arrest were Tom Cruise and
Jack Nicklaus.
Jack Nicholson was in the Marines. He was the Marines. Remember,
Jack Nicklaus was a golfer.
Jack Nicholson.
Jack Nicholson was the golfer.
Jack Nicholson is the actor who played the Marine leader from down at Guantanamo.
The one that made the order.
Yeah, that made the order.
Yeah.
And then what's the actress? Anyway, they were Navy. So military, all military. JAG falls under all military. Is that every military branch has their own?
Every military branch has their own JAG. There is some cross training. The Army has got the biggest, most impressive JAG school in the nation, and so you get a lot of cross training from different branches coming to Charlottesville, which is the main training center for the JAG. And it's truly a world class outfit. I mean, it is super, super difficult to get accepted. There are 100 officer applicants accepted every year, approximately 100 every year, 2 from each state.
Oh, wow.
Is the way that breaks down. I'm not sure that's exactly, they're not checking that box, I don't think, but that's basically how it breaks down, is 2 from each state every year. And so you get pretty lucky if you get one of those slots. It is super good training, high level, with lots of good experience. That's the best I can tell you.
Where does Alan Wilson fall in all that?
Alan used to be the state's judge advocate. Alan is our attorney general. He used to be the state's judge advocate. He's now on staff at the National Guard Bureau up in Washington, D.C.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I heard some great Alan Wilson stories, but I'll tell you off the air.
Okay.
Okay. They're from his, I guess, one of his trips to Afghanistan, or because he's been over there quite a couple times maybe, but it was with somebody that was in his division with him, and it was a great story. I heard it on Saturday.
There are a couple of my guys, the JAGs in this state that I work with, that actually got to interview Saddam Hussein when they were in Iraq.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so they've got some good stories in the early stages of the Iraq War. But they when Saddam Hussein was found eating the Doritos down in the hole, they got to interview him.
Oh, wow.
When he went to prison before he got hung.
That would be spine tingling.
Hanged, I guess.
Hanged.
Yeah, he got hanged.
Yeah, say it right. Mm-hmm. Hanged. All right, so before we try to get Scott on here, one more thing. So how does this job with the Army coincide with the position as Senate? Mm-hmm. Which one has precedence? And I mean, the only reason I'm not saying precedence, I'm saying which one. I mean, if something bad was to happen, which one? Where would Senator Stephen Goldfinch?
It is an interesting question because we've dealt with this. Just recently, we dealt with this during the hurricane. I was assigned to the Emergency Management Division as their lawyer, as the National Guard lawyer on staff over there in Columbia.
Right.
During the last storm. What was that, Ian?
Mm-hmm.
During the last storm. And about halfway through the storm, when they realized the track was moving through Georgetown and Pawleys Island, everybody sort of looked at me and said, God, you're not the right guy to be here because you need to be doing your Senate job right now. And so they made, immediately after that storm, we made a change. the National Guard guys up at the top made a change and took me off of that duty because of my Senate duty.
Right.
Now, I think the best way to describe that is my National Guard. So obviously, if we go to war, God forbid, with Russia or China, then I'm going to war, and my Senate job stays here.
Right.
Right. I mean, so that there's precedence. That's not the right word. There is. There would be a pecking order if something major like that happened. But in the situation like the hurricane, they give deference to, because I represent 150,000, more than that, closer to 170,000 people now,
right,
in this state, and they recognize that. And so the National Guard, goes out on a limb to try to help me so that I can still serve my constituents in my Senate job.
Right.
But again, if something major were to happen, then I throw off my business suit and I put on my Army suit.
Yeah, and that's what I figured. It's funny when you were talking about the hurricane thing. I had some people tell me some stories from Hugo, things that happened with National Guard here that was really bad.
Yeah.
And you know where I'm going with that, don't you?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, that would have been something where you would have to prosecute.
Yeah.
That becomes that's not a Horry County or Georgetown County. That goes straight to military.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No.
So you kind of know what I'm going at with that, and I'm not going to bring it up. I don't want to, but I did hear that there were some bad things that went on.
I mean, it's unfortunate nature, human nature. It happens a lot when you're deployed too. When you got a bunch of 18 to 25-year-old guys by themselves, some of them for the first time out from underneath their parents' roof, deployed 6,000, 8,000 miles away, access to alcohol, access to women, access to power and authority and guns. I mean, it's unfortunate, but it's human nature. Stuff happens.
That's right.
And, and there has to be a check and balance on those sort of things. We have to maintain discipline and good order in the ranks in order for us to have the biggest and best military in the world. And without military justice and JAGs for that particular set of facts, then you have mass chaos, and not a good thing. So it is a necessary. I hate that part of the job. I really do. I hate prosecuting guys in the military, but I do. I have to do it every now and then. You have to maintain good order and discipline in the ranks in order to be an effective military.
Exactly. And man, I hated to bring that up, but
no. It's part of it, right? I mean, we all know intrinsically that sort of stuff can happen, and so it needs to. That's not the. I wouldn't say that's the majority of the job by any means, but it is certainly a part of the job, and it needs to be done when bad stuff happens.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I just texted with Whitaker. He's ready, and I'll leave you alone because I don't want you to divulge anything else. But first and foremost, we're proud of you. I'm proud to call you a business partner. More proud to call you a friend first. But you're in my prayers, and you know that you'll be in my prayers. But be thinking about you and hope you're over there quick, 8 months and back. But in the meantime, I'll be stuck with your dad, with Rick. We're going to have them lined up wanting to be on the podcast to take your place. And the bad thing is I'm going to have to find somebody smart because we got to have somebody take over for the brains. So send your resume in.
Won't take much.
Send your resumes in.
Won't take much.
Trilogy Outdoors Media at gmail.com. Send your resume. You want to sit in with us, but I think we got a great group of people that are going to step up and sit in. And,
oh, yeah.
And we will be looking forward to having you as a part of our Grand Strand Rodeo Expo and Banquet, albeit live or recorded somehow or another. We're going to have you, and we're doing it on Veterans Day.
Yeah.
So we are definitely going to. I've arranged for hopefully St. James ROTC to come do a flag, the color presentation, and everything else. But we're going to do as much as we can that night and that day to honor our competitors and anglers that are in the tournament that are veterans, as well as making sure that we get you tied into some part of the banquet, and whether you get to bless the food, which would be great, have you bless it from down there.
Yeah.
But if you want to, give Whitaker a call. He says he's ready. Let's talk some CCA if you're good. You got time?
Yeah, hit the pause button, and we'll bring him in.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
we'll take a quick bathroom
We'll do
break.
that. Take a bathroom break, and we'll be right back. Y'all don't go anywhere. We're going to get Scott Whitaker on here, and we'll talk some CCA. This is the Trilogy Outdoors podcast. All right, everybody, welcome back to Trilogy Outdoors. And not often do we take a break in the middle of the show, but sometimes Mother Nature calls, and that was perfect. But speaking of phone calls, Stephen got through with the director, the state director of CCA, our good friend Scott Whitaker, who has been on with us quite a few times. And we're going to have Scott on today and talk about the banquet that's coming up. Let's talk about the banquets for the year, how important they are. And then let's talk some star tournament. How about that, brother?
Yeah, we just call Scott the man.
The man.
The man. Scott, you there?
Lord, what an intro. I will do all I can. I appreciate all the kind remarks, guys. But, yeah, that's quite a lot to live up to.
Yeah, well,
Stephen, I like to think of myself as I'm a little Indian, not a big chief.
Yeah, I hear you. I feel the same way sometimes.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we got a banquet coming up, first in the state, coming up March 4th, right?
We do, guys, and I appreciate y'all calling and allowing us to talk about it for a few minutes. Yes, for 2023, which is what we call our events across the state. We call the CCA Banquet Trail. And once again this year, our wonderful friends Bubba Roof and Sea Hunt Boats are our banquet trail sponsors. They've been doing it now for over 15 years for the entire state of South Carolina. But the first one starts right there in y'all's backyard. And it's really a chapter that I continue to just be so proud of and so fond of so many people that give their time and energy. It's our Walk 'em All banquet is what we call that chapter. And it will be right downtown Murrells Inlet once again. And I think, both of you, I don't want to put words in y'all's mouths, but y'all have both attended the event many, many times over the years. And honestly, I think it's probably one of the finest events along the entire Grand Strand.
I do too.
For anglers and for hunters and for outdoor enthusiasts.
Yeah, it's great.
So we're looking forward to it.
It's a great time of year. You still have a little bit of nip in the air in the evenings, and the bugs aren't that bad. And we're on the waterfront there in Murrells Inlet. We're at Sunnyside again.
Sunnyside.
Right?
Sunnyside, that's right.
And we're at Sunnyside. Great food, great music, great people. Highly encourage everybody to come if you can hear the sound of my voice. And going to be a lot of good auction items, banquet items as well, right, Scott? Anything you can tell us about already?
Yeah, it is, and I think it's we always work real hard, and our volunteers work real hard, and all of our board and committee members to try and put on really good events across the state and bring those types of items to people and let them really come and support what the organization does. And yeah, we'll have some unique items again this year that we've worked on since last year and this fall and this winter. And the volunteers, I think, I can't really talk enough about the volunteers that we have, because these guys are giving their time and their talents time and time again, and in many instances their own resources to put together an event and to encourage their fellow citizens and the people in their community to support the mission of what CCA South Carolina and what our sister organizations do across the region. So, yes, we're going to have some very unique things, I think, again, for everybody to come and have a good time on. And while we're talking about that kind of thing, guys, I want to make sure that everybody understands that, because we do get asked this, the really unique thing about CCA in South Carolina is that all of the money that we raise at these events across the state, it stays right here in the state of South Carolina. So that money isn't, we don't bundle that money up from all these events and we ship it off somewhere. All of the money that is raised across each one of our CCA states, it stays in that respective state.
Right.
And it allows CCA South Carolina to do all the amazing work that we have been able to do over the years, from the habitat to the oysters to the advocacy. It's just a tremendous upwelling of support that anglers and people who really love the coast and outdoorsmen, sportsmen really have. That's very unique to the state of South Carolina. So we're very happy to be a part of it, and just really thrilled at what our volunteers are able to do year in and year out for the resource.
You're going to have some trips to give away this year?
We will. We've got some interesting stuff going to Texas this year, a little blast and cast with our friends at Bay Flats Lodge. Chris is coming on board and doing some really unique things with us. That's a trip for 4. We will have some unique opportunities for some cooking team items, for some, fellowship that everybody gets to have. And there'll be some vacation packages and some other unique items that we've been able to, put together here and there. So it should be another good lineup.
You still accepting donations?
We are. We absolutely are. We never stop.
Oh, good.
Inglis and I would like to donate something to the cause. If you don't mind, let's talk afterwards, if that's okay.
We would absolutely love to do that. We would love to hear it and talk some more about that.
Yeah, we do.
Would.
Okay.
Yeah, we need to.
Good.
I tell you what, you mentioned it's a great time, and for a lot of us, it's a crazy night for different walks of life to get together that don't spend a lot of social time together. Yeah. Albeit for whatever reason. And it is always great to get together and sit down there and hear, all the lies that get told about fishing. It is great. And then, of course, our other brand, the Southern Anglers Radio Show, Kenny and I love naming the official winner of the CCA banquet. And we have, I'm not going to disclose names from over the years, but I think Whitaker would probably agree with me on all of our annual winners that we picked.
And what you mean by winners is the most inebriated?
Most inebriated.
All right.
The person that indulged.
Just as a disclaimer, CCA has no role in the choosing of said winners.
No role in that whatsoever.
No, that is all done by the radio show, and we always like to join up. We make our what we'll do is on that Saturday off, we will normally come up with our guesstimation of who's going to be in the top 5.
I can tell you who that is now.
And then you already know. And then the following week, we make our choice of who made the cut and who gets the title. And I will say that all the winners from the past have owned up to it and are very proud of that title that they get. But what we love is the fact that they normally open their wallets up a little bit better, and we get them bidding and buying things at the auction. And I'll tell you, first and foremost, I've been to a lot of auctions. I've been to a lot, and more so with our new business. Stephen and I have been a part of quite a few. But when it comes down to auctioneers that are professional, that do the great job, that pull the money out of people's wallets and do it in a respectful way and in an entertaining way, your guy is the best, brother.
Yeah, Roy is just a tremendous supporter of what we do. So I've been doing this now. I'm coming up on a quarter of a century. I've been blessed to be the executive director for CCA South Carolina for almost 25 years. And Roy has only missed, I don't know, probably half a dozen, maybe 6 events in that time frame. He and I are close friends, and he just does a tremendous job. People love him all over the state, English, and that's one of the first questions I get. When people find out about it, or they see me on the street, or call me on the phone. Hey, we got the same auctioneer? And he's like, "Yep, Roy's coming back." So
that's awesome.
There you go. That's perfect. Well, listen, Stephen's got to make that phone call real quick. Let's talk about the Star event. I know you're making a couple changes this year, but the CCA Star event is another popular event, and what we're going to make sure everybody gets signed up for the Grand Strand Fishing Rodeo and for the Star event. I mean, you need to get signed up for both, but let's talk about the Star event. Let's real quick, some changes that you made with that new dolphin category, and we got about 4 minutes to get this thing so Stephen can get back to work.
Perfect.
Sorry, dude.
We started a dolphin category last year. Had a tremendous amount of success with it. We tried to do it along in conjunction with the redfish, which our Star tournament's always been, a summertime event. And it really we just tried to mirror what it was doing. And unfortunately, as everybody knows, most of the time our our recreational dolphin fishery here in the state of South Carolina, it's just really it starts in April.
Yep.
And so what we did was we backed up, or moved forward, I should say, the start of our dolphin category this year. It's going to start on April the 1st.
Oh, good.
To kind of capture and give people the opportunity to go into that.
So you
into that category a little bit early.
Sign up online?
You can sign up online. Go to joincca.org, and you can take care of your membership and your star registration.
Star registration is what, $25?
$35.
$35.
Your
There we
membership's
go.
$35. Your star's $35.
Okay.
And
biggest dolphin wins the tournament.
That's right. Biggest dolphin is the tournament winner. Obviously, it's a tag redfish division.
Right.
But the dolphin division is the largest fish.
That's awesome.
And that's great because you guys will start. So if somebody wants to come to the banquet, we're promoting that banquet on all our stuff. But March 4th, they come to the banquet. They can sign up right there and go ahead and get signed up.
They sure can, English. They'll get their membership with their ticket to the banquet, and they can obviously register for star at the banquet as well.
All right, real quick, ccasc.org. Am I wrong on that?
Go to joincca.org.
Yeah, joincca.org.
Joincca.org.
All right, well, I'm going to get that out there on our website and on the launch of this when I run this podcast out there on the platforms this afternoon. But we look forward to seeing you here in now, I think it's only 2 weeks, dude.
Awesome.
Yes.
Wow, it's coming right up.
They creep up on you so quick, man.
Well, hopefully the Senator's in town. Our plans are to do the show like we did 2 years ago at the site that morning. So we'll get Stephen down there to hang out with us and you and some of the Welcome All chapter and have a good time down there while hey, we'll sit around while they all get set up and we'll talk about it and all the fun we're going to have. And we look forward to it and love supporting you guys. And thanks for all that y'all do, Scott.
Hey, it's truly a pleasure, and thank you all for thinking of us. To be honest with you, honestly, thank you.
Well, hey, that's what great partnerships are about. Thank you so much, Scott.
All right, see you, bud.
All right, guys.
All right,
see you.
All right, folks. Well, listen, that was a great. Hey, that was short, sweet, and to the point.
Yeah, I liked it. You wrap it up.
Hey, and I normally am not good at that short, sweet, and to the point, but I'm going to be to the point and short, sweet right now. Get signed up for the Grand Strand Fishing Rodeo. Go to TrilogyOutdoorsMedia.com. Click on the rodeo logo. Go down, follow instructions. It's real simple. Or stop by any of our 11 weigh stations and registration locations right now. Get signed up. $20 gets you in for the year. Every month, it's a monthly contest. Remember, all the species are out there. There's 9 species a month. You can get signed up. 6 in the freshwater, 6 in saltwater. Get signed up and come fishing with us. Have a great time. And let's see what else I want to talk about. Oh, the magazine. It's out. Go get it. Trilogy Outdoors Magazine. It's in all the stands everywhere and online as well at our website. And also Southern Anglers Radio Show. Listen, if you miss it on the iHeart app on Saturday mornings from 8 to 10, don't worry about it. Go to any podcast platform. Look at Trilogy Outdoors. Look up our Southern Anglers Radio Show podcast. You can find it right there. Our last 2 weeks are up there now, and we're going to have a lot more episodes that we're going back and getting up there as well. But it's been a great time today hanging out with the Senator. He had to get some work done, and I got to go get some work done. But it's always fun talking fins, fur, and feathers right here on Trilogy Outdoors Podcast.
Trilogy Outdoors Podcast is a product of Trilogy Outdoors Media. All views and opinions of our hosts and guests are not necessarily those of our sponsors. Trilogy Outdoors is produced and edited by Trilogy Outdoors Media. Be sure to follow us on all the podcast platforms as well as our social media pages on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And also don't forget our other brands, Southern Anglers Radio Show and Walk 'em All Outdoor Magazine. To find more information, visit TrilogyOutdoorsMedia.com. And remember, if it's anything dealing with fins, fur, and feathers, you're going to find it right here on Trilogy Outdoors.